Welcome back to Wired to Be Rich. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you've been listening for a while, as always, you already know what we do here. This podcast is about rewiring how you think about money, success, stability, and what it actually means to live a life that's rich. Not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, and energetically too. I always want to be clear about this. This is not hustle culture. We don't live there anymore, okay? This is not grind until you collapse culture. And it's definitely not get rich quick culture. This is about building wealth and freedom in a way that actually feels sustainable, calm, and aligned with the kind of life you want to wake up inside of. Today's episode is a really personal one because I want to talk about how I went from what I would genuinely call my broke era into a year where I was traveling consistently, saying yes to experiences, and moving through life with way more peace and confidence than I've ever had before. And before anyone gets it twisted, this wasn't because I suddenly became reckless or lucky, or because something magically fell into my lap. This came from one very specific shift that completely changed how I make decisions. And once that shift clicked, everything else started to fall into place. So before I tell you what that success hack actually is, I want to walk you through what this year looked like in real life. Let's jump right into it.
She's not just a podcast host. She's a movement.
Mandalay is teaching people how to break cycles and build real wealth, mentally, financially, and spiritually.
People all over the world are waking up to her message.
Wired to Be Rich isn't just a podcast, it's a mindset shift.
She makes you believe again in yourself, in your power, and your ability to actually have the life you always know was meant for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Manda Lee, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Balance and Destiny, and this is Wired to Be Rich. This year started off in January with a trip to Colorado, where I went skiing for the very first time ever, you guys. And when I tell you that trip was so fun, I fell so many times. Skiing is literally a sport. Like, I knew it was a sport, but it's actually a sport, you guys. My entire body was hurting the next day. And I have to say, that experience alone set the tone for the year. It was new, it was uncomfortable, it was exciting, and it reminded me how much I love doing things for the first time. And what stood out to me wasn't just the trip itself, but the fact that I could say yes to it without anxiety spiraling in the background, right? I wasn't stressing about bills. I wasn't doing mental math every 5 seconds. And that was new for me, you know? And I already know I want to go back next year. That's something I've noticed about this season of my life. I don't just experience things and move on. I plan forward calmly because I trust my systems to support me. And we'll get into what those systems are here shortly. And in February, I went to Chicago for the first time this year. It wasn't my first time ever in Chicago, but it was my first time there that year. And it was such a fun, elevated experience. The guy I was dating at the time actually flew in a couple days after I got there just to spend time with me with that. And that was very special. It really was. It was really special. It meant a lot to me. The effort, And then while I was there, I ate at beautiful restaurants. I did karaoke, or I watched him do karaoke, and I genuinely enjoyed myself. And one of the highlights was going to the aviary, and for my Chicago natives or just people that traveled in Bend, that spot is super luxe. It's a crafted cocktail experience. The service was impeccable. Everything was intentional, and it just felt, refined, exclusive. And what hit me was that I wasn't enjoying myself despite my finances. I was enjoying myself because my finances weren't loud in my head. And that same month, I also traveled to Louisiana. And again, it wasn't chaotic. It wasn't last minute stress. It was just life happening smoothly. And then March into April, I celebrated my 31st birthday in Punta Cana. That trip was less about doing the most and more about being present. It was restful, grounding, and honestly really symbolic for me. Turning 31 felt like stepping into a new era of how I treat myself and my time. And then May came, and this is one of my favorite trips of the year. I literally took a completely impromptu day trip to Miami. And had a day pass at the Nobu Hotel. I woke up at the crack of dawn, drove myself to the airport, flew to Miami. I got a massage while I was there. I spent time on the beach. I ate on the beach, had a nice drink, walked around, rode bikes. I soaked it all in and then flew back home that same night. I was literally back in my own bed, tucking my dog in like nothing ever happened before midnight. It's crazy. And I remember thinking, this is freedom. Not being gone for weeks, not escaping your life, but having so much control over your time and money that you can dip into joy and come right back without disruption. And it's actually easier than what people may think. And that was a huge realization for me. But then in June, this was another fun trip. I was in San Diego. I attended the Cisco Live conference with a guy that I was seeing at the time, and he rented me a car so I could get around and enjoy myself while I was there. And that same month, I also started another contract role. So it was a busy month for me this past June. A lot was happening. But here's the key part. None of it was destabilizing because also, I know you're like, girl, you went a lot of places. I did. I went a lot of places this year, y'all. I feel like I traveled full time. In August, I went to Miami again. And I stayed there about 5 days and then took a 5-day cruise to the Bahamas. That trip felt like a true blend of rest and play. I wasn't overextending myself and I wasn't using travel as an escape. I was enjoying it because my life at home was already solid. And then October came and I went back to Chicago again. And this trip was different. I found myself in a room full of millionaires. And what was wild wasn't the money, it was the energy. I didn't feel intimidated. I didn't feel like I was pretending. I didn't feel like I needed to prove anything. I was there because I belonged in a room. Hell, even one of the guys that has a membership there said, this isn't a place that people just walk into. The memberships start at $4,000 a pop. It said, but if you got in here for free, and they gave you a free bottle of Macallan 12, it's because you look like you belong. And that's when I knew that what I felt about myself on the inside was resonating outwardly towards other people. Because people can say anything, right? Men flirt, women are nice, whatever. But specific language like you look like you belong in a room that was confirmation for me. And that's when it really hit me. This entire year, I had been up and down, traveling, living, and experiencing life. Heartbreaks to milestones to significant moments to everything. And not once did I feel like I was wrecking my finances or my peace. That is not accidental, y'all. I built and curated this life. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you the number one success hack that took me from being in my broke era into this level of freedom that was, presented to me or that I curated. And that was learning how to think in systems. I spoke about this a little bit on my last a couple episodes. I didn't optimize for making the most money possible. I optimized for stability. I built systems that protected my income, my time, my energy, and most importantly, my nervous system. I became very strict about what I said yes to and even stricter about what I said no to. I chose predictability over adrenaline. I chose sustainability over aesthetics. Right? I stopped romanticizing struggle and started engineering ease. That meant stacking reliable income instead of chasing one big, exciting opportunity. It meant structuring my day so I wasn't constantly reactive. It meant making decisions that reduced chaos instead of adding to it. And here's the part that people don't like to hear. I didn't need more ambition or another skill set or more certifications. I needed containment. Once my life had structure, everything expanded naturally. Travel became easy, rest felt deserved, and money stopped feeling slippery. You don't need to travel full time to apply this either. You don't need multiple jobs unless you want that, and you don't need to blow up your life. But you do need to ask yourself a few honest questions. Does my current setup increase stability or decrease it? Does my decisions calm my nervous system or reactivate it? Am I building a lifestyle or am I chasing moments? Wealth is quiet, it's repeatable, you guys. And honestly, it's a little boring in the best way. But that boring foundation is what holds the beautiful, exciting parts of life without ever collapsing everything. Going from broke to stable changed everything for me. Not because I suddenly had unlimited money, but because I finally trusted my life to hold me. Being rich isn't just about what you can buy. It's about designing a life that can actually sustain the things you want. So if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who's in that in-between season. Leave a review if you haven't. And most importantly, sit with this question. What is the one system I could bring right now that would give me more peace? I know today's episode was a little bit short, but as you know, it is the 23rd and Christmas is in 2 days. So I need to still finish Christmas shopping. And by finish Christmas shopping, I mean start Christmas shopping. I have not gotten anything for anyone. So I'm about to take a leave right now and make my way to the malls. So pray for me that it's not too crazy, which I know it will be. But I hope all of you have a very special Christmas. And of course, we will be back on the 30th for another episode before the new year. I cannot believe that 2025 has already came and went. What a magical year. 2025 was a year that I didn't expect. I literally didn't expect it. 2024 was kind of like crazy, chaotic, but 2025 really put a smile on my face. I did cry. I cried a lot this year, but I also smiled even more. And for that, I am super grateful. I love all of you. I love every single last one of you. Thank you so much for supporting me the way that you do. It does not go unnoticed. Of course, tap in with me on my Instagram at ForbesManda_ and email me your favorite parts of this year, my episodes this year, at info@balancedestiny.com. And of course, this will be in the show notes. And let me know what you're looking forward to. Let me know some things you want me to talk about. I love hearing from all of you, whether it's just a simple thank you for posting a podcast or it's insight as to what you actually learned from an episode. So, as always, thank you for listening to Wired to Be Rich. I will talk to y'all next time. Bye.